Hey guys, so one of my writing challenges for March is that I was going to write a review, a in-depth review of a book, and since I just finished reading one yesterday, I figured today was the perfect opportunity because I have a week left to actually do this. So I'm going to bring you with me. Let's figure out what the hell it actually takes to write a review. Okay, so I looked up how to write a book review. And there's 6 steps to take according to Book Riot, and so that's what I'm going to attempt to do. Step number 1 is begin with a brief summary of the book. It's probably the best way to introduce any review because it gives context. I don't typically do this. How to give context. Alright, so I've got the first section done. I don't know if it's going to work, but it's, the important bits in my eyes without giving up too much information. I'm going to read it. So, etiquette and espionage features Sophorina, and I don't really know how to say her name. It's very strange. Most of them are very strange, other than Soap. I got Soap. Soap, I understand. A 14-year-old girl, the youngest of 4 or 5, I don't really remember. She's not very ladylike, opening with a dumbwaiter accident and a flying dessert. Soon, she's sent to her mother for punishment, being sent away to finishing school. Little do either of them know that the school she will be attending will also teach her how to be an intelligencer, or a secret agent. I think that summarizes pretty much the whole plot of the book without giving out any unknown details. So, step number 2 is to pick out the most important aspects of the book, and so I do have a few of those in mind, so I'm going to get to doing that. So I got the second bit done. That is to pick out the most interesting aspects of the book. I put this as a YA steampunk that features vampires and werewolves, interesting gadgets, and a progressive look at 19th century, battling social status, gender roles, racism, and ageism. The range of characters are well presented with depth and detail and a great deal of humor. The gadgets were also really interesting, like the faceless mech maids and the dog and the robot dog, which both play major roles in the plot. Those are the things that I found really, really interesting about them. I am going to include brief quotes as examples is step number 3, so I'm going to go get to that. So it says to include brief quotes as examples. Mine's a little bit longer of a quote, but I think it perfectly wraps up most of what I'm talking about in general about Sophorina. I have no idea how to say her name. I wonder if I can find it online. Sophronia. Okay. Sophronia has this really nice, quick wit and internal dialogue. I love the way that she talked to both adults around her and the other students around her, understanding when etiquette really should be pushed aside because it only hinders people from getting to know each other. And she also knows when talking to adults when she can be frank with them and just talk to them like an adult because she's being honest, and when to simply shut her mouth. So here's one of those perfect examples that I liked. Sophronia nudged up next to him to look inside. A proper classroom. There were uncomfortable-looking chairs facing tables covered in interesting-looking apparatus and scientific instruments. The walls were tacked with sketches of complex devices. The room, like the hallway, was in chaos. It might have started life as some kind of laboratory or engineering chamber, but its contents were now overturned, smoked, and covered liberally in black powder. I suppose Professor Lufox and her students haven't had much luck in creating an alternative prototype, said Safrina mildly. What? The vampire sucked on a fang, looking thoughtful. He turned dark eyes on his newest student. It appears as if they haven't. Wait a minute there. What? Where did you come from, young lady? Your class, sir. Remember? We were just there. The vampire only looked at her, not even acknowledging her levity. Tell me, Miss Timonek, what was the first thing you wanted to know, just now, before the explosion? Safrina saw no reason to provocate. If he really wanted a window to her thoughts, then any possible rudeness was irrelevant. Your range, sir, being that you're a rove, as I'm assuming the school is no hive, I was wondering how a vampire is indirigible managed to float around all over the place the way you do. Then I figured you must be bound to the school itself, or something like. Something like indeed. Then I was wondering, since you were instructing us in defense against vampires, what would happen if you fell overboard? What would happen to your tether? Would it snap? Would you die? The vampire narrowed his eyes, looking down his nose at her. He avoided her question by asking her one of his own. And the explosion, what do you make of it? Perhaps Professor Lufox should have tried steel first. My goodness, you do pay attention. That's a perfect example of what actually both I liked and I did not like about it. I got over the stuff that I didn't like rather quickly because the voice just captured me. The next step in the review process is to write a conclusion that summarizes everything and to find similar books. It's 4 and 5, and then 6 is give a star rating, which is going to be a 4.5 for me. Now, finding similar books. The only real other experience I have with steampunk is the Cinder, the Lunar Chronicle series. I don't think that they're enough alike to compare the two of them together, so I'm just going to leave that part out because I don't have a good comparison, although I really, really enjoyed this book. Highly recommend it. I'm going to be reading book 2 next month. Yes, I'm going to be reading 2 book 2s next month. I'm excited. I like series. Anyways, now on to my conclusion and my wrapping up of the quote. Okay, here's what I have in my conclusion. So the banter is nice, the lines crisp in the dialogue, and the scene is reflective of her interactions with most characters, as she is an observant girl. Very observant, very intelligent, learning to be a lady when necessary and when not to be a lady when necessary. Really cool. This also shows, however, the amount of telling that happens alongside it. The only reason this isn't a 5-star review. That and the hissing, because this one does hissing too, and there's no S sound. Okay, you tell, that is one of my pet peeves. Overall, the voice and character development made me overlook the book's small flaws and simply disappear into a story. It has a nice plot, great characters, interesting details, and a refreshing perspective. We'll be reading book 2 in April. There's my book review. I'm gonna go post it on Goodreads and show it to you guys, but overall, fun experience doing this. I'm good practice. Alright. So there it is, posted on Goodreads. Let me know how you guys feel about long reviews like this. Do you prefer just a couple of sentences from a reviewer? Do you like the long, drawn-out explanation of a professional-looking review? Do you just look at the numbers? Do none of those really matter? Does it matter what they say or are looking at in the book? I've started to read more reviews to pick my books more, and understanding what makes them like that, the story, and what doesn't, via quotes especially, helps me out. Because if I saw this one in the explanation, I'd be like, okay, I might give it a chance because it shows the good and the bad and explains why it's good and why it's bad and how easy it is to overcome it, versus having a quote that I would cringe at and somebody going, I love it. I'm like, alright, I might not actually like this book. So I'm trying to be more helpful as a reader. Thank you guys for watching. Let me know how you review, how you read reviews. was helpful. And I will see you next time. Bye.